Chosen one, there is something you need to understand right now. The greatest danger you will face does not come from outside, but from within. There is a version of you, shaped by all the choices you avoided, by the paths you refused to take, a part that grew in the shadows, fed by the doubts, resentments, and fears you tried to ignore. And now, this version has found a way to escape, and wants to take your place. That is why this is the moment for you to reclaim your power and write the number 777 in the comments to manifest to the universe that your identity is protected by God. Take this moment to leave your like now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Now, continuing our conversation, this other you did not appear out of nowhere. It carries everything you have repressed, the anger you did not express, the desires you denied, the weaknesses you hid. It does not want to destroy you directly. It wants to become you. It wants to steal your identity, your mission, your energy. And the most dangerous part? It knows how to do this without you realizing it. Little by little, it infiltrates your mind, confuses your emotions, and plants doubts in those around you. It makes people question who you really are until you, yourself, begin to doubt. The question is not whether it exists. It is whether you will notice before it is too late. The signs have already started to appear. Small changes in your behavior. Moments when you act in a way you do not recognize. People around you start to react differently, as if something about you seems off. This is not a coincidence. This shadow version is trying to take control of your life. And if you do not become aware now, you may end up being replaced without even realizing it. Chosen one, do you feel this presence? Something is changing around you, but not in an obvious way. Small details seem out of place, as if your very energy is being manipulated. This feeling is not paranoia. It is a sign that it has already begun to act. This version of you, which grew in the shadows of the choices you did not make, has found a way to escape and is now seeking to take control of your life. And if you do not realize it now, you risk being replaced without even understanding how it happened. This dark reflection knows you better than anyone else. It has studied every decision you made, every weakness, every fear you tried to bury. It does not need to attack you directly. It plants doubts, distorts your perception, and influences your mind so that you begin to question your own identity. The people around you also start to notice changes. Small ones at first, almost imperceptible, but enough to sow distrust. And that is how it gains strength, without you noticing. It believes that the life you have should be its own. To it, you are the weak version, the one who always hesitated, who missed opportunities, who repressed your true power. It sees each of your insecurities as a waste, as a weakness. And now it wants to correct that. It believes it can be a better version of you, stronger, bolder, more determined. But the truth is, it does not want to improve anything. It wants to take your place and erase your original essence. But how did it escape? This did not happen overnight. With every unresolved doubt, every fear left unchallenged, this entity grew stronger. For a long time it was trapped inside you, limited to the realm of ideas, unable to cross into reality. But then something changed. A crack opened, perhaps a moment of exhaustion, carelessness, or deep pain. In that instant, it found its chance. And now that it is free, it will not give up easily. Now it is testing your limits. It whispers in your thoughts, amplifies your fears, transforms your own reflection into something unfamiliar. Have you felt disconnected from yourself lately? as if you were watching your life happen without really feeling like you are living it? That is it, already at work. It wants you to lose connection with your own identity, to doubt your purpose. It does not want to fight you. It wants you to surrender without realizing you are being manipulated. Chosen one, do not be mistaken. This battle has already begun. You can ignore the signs, pretend it is just a phase, but that will only make it stronger. It wants you to stay distracted, to waste time on irrelevant worries. The more you stray from your mission, the more space it gains to act. If you do not take a stand now, there may come a moment when even you will no longer know who you are. You still have control, but you must take it back before it is too late. Chosen one, this presence did not appear out of nowhere. It grew with you, in the moments you hesitated, in the doubts you tried to bury, in the mistakes you refused to admit. It is not just an alternative version of you, but a reflection of everything you avoided facing. And now, it has found a way to break free, but not to exist alongside you. It wants to take your place. This entity does not act obviously. It attacks from the inside out. First, it makes you doubt yourself, making you feel like something is wrong, even without knowing exactly what. Then, it begins to influence your energy, your perception of reality. Have you ever felt like you do not recognize your own mind? As if certain thoughts were not entirely yours? This happens because it is infiltrating your consciousness, taking over pieces of your identity, fragmenting your true essence. You need to understand that this is not just an internal struggle. It is a war for control of your very existence. This dark reflection does not just want to live. It wants you to disappear. It knows that, to take full control of your identity, it must first convince you that you are no longer capable of governing your own life. Small acts of sabotage begin to happen. You miss opportunities, feel an inexplicable discouragement, experience memory lapses, and little by little, you start to wonder if you are still the same person. What if I told you this battle is already happening? That it has already started taking part of your space, and that the people around you feel it? They may not understand what is happening, but they sense something different. Small distances begin to form. Your presence, once strong, now seems unstable. It is not that the world is changing. It is that it is changing how the world perceives you. The more space it gains, the harder it will be to reclaim your true position. Chosen one, this moment demands an awakening. You cannot defeat it by ignoring it. It only exists because it feeds on your shadows, your regrets, the parts of you that you refuse to face. The only way to stop it is by recognizing your own darkness, looking directly at it, and taking ownership of your wholeness. There is no strength without acceptance. You can continue running and allowing it to grow, or you can take control before it is too late. The choice has always been yours. But be careful. It is cunning. It knows that to defeat it, you must know yourself deeply. That is why its strategy is distraction. It wants you to be trapped in irrelevant doubts, to distance yourself from your essence, to waste time with fears that were never truly yours. It keeps you occupied with mundane worries while gaining more space within you. The danger is not in its strength, but in your lack of awareness of how much it has already advanced. If you do not wake up now, you may be lost forever. The first step to defeating it is recognizing the signs. Pay attention to the subtle changes, the moments when you feel you are not in control, the situations where your own actions seem out of place. This is not a coincidence, it is influence. It does not act chaotically, but strategically. It wants you to get used to its presence until you accept it as an inevitable part of your reality. But you still have time. You can still interrupt this process and reclaim what is yours. The shadowy reflection does not emerge as an external enemy, but as a presence that slowly insinuates itself within you, shaping your thoughts, undermining your clarity, and altering the way you perceive yourself. Small changes begin to manifest almost imperceptibly, as if your own mind were being subtly manipulated. You feel that certain moments of your day seem out of place, as if you were being guided by impulses you don't recognize, yielding to patterns that previously did not belong to you. It doesn't need to confront you directly because it operates, invisibly becoming part of your psyche. When you ignore your inner conflicts and avoid dealing with parts of your essence that require attention, you are allowing this entity to gain strength. Each avoided decision, each silenced regret, and each ignored weakness becomes fuel for this reflection to expand, becoming increasingly influential in your life. Little by little, you move further away from your true identity without realizing that something is being taken from you. Your energy becomes more unstable, your presence less noticeable, and those around you begin to react differently, sensing that something in your vibration is no longer the same. The subtle erosion of your identity is the first sign that this force is at work. Your thoughts begin to lose coherence. Your motivation fluctuates without apparent reason, and an invisible weight falls upon your spirit, draining your vitality. It operates in the shadows, occupying the space you leave when you are not fully conscious of yourself. The danger does not lie in a direct attack, but in the way it weakens your perception, leading you into gradual apathy. Before you know it, your actions no longer reflect your true will, but rather the programming that was subtly implanted within you. It's easy to believe that none of this is more than a passing conflict, that over time, everything will return to normal. But this is the most dangerous trap. Passivity feeds the influence of this entity, and the more you convince yourself that you are in control without actually being so, the deeper the replacement process becomes. This force does not desire to coexist with you. It desires to be you. Its purpose is not simple interference, but absolute domination, eliminating any trace of your true identity to fully occupy the space that once was yours. It does not need to manifest in an obvious way or create a direct confrontation. Its power lies in the ability to infiltrate your psyche and make you forget that there was once a clear line between who you truly are and who this entity wants you to become. Each thought that doesn't seem like yours, every emotion that arises without explanation, and every time you feel like you are losing yourself a little more, are part of the process. It doesn't need brute force, just time and distraction. The more you ignore it, the more ground it gains, consolidating its presence within you. The way to interrupt this influence begins the moment you decide to face what you have avoided for so long. Your shadow cannot be fought in the traditional way, as it strengthens through resistance. It's not enough to reject it or try to erase it, because that only reinforces its power. The only way to neutralize it is to understand it, recognizing the aspects of yourself that you tried to repress. Only by accepting your totality, without denying any part of who you are, does this presence lose its strength, because there are no longer any gaps for it to infiltrate. Resistance to this influence does not happen instantaneously, because it has already rooted itself in your psyche, operating in a discreet and persistent manner. It's not enough just to wish to take back control. A deep level of self-awareness is necessary. Every thought, every impulse, every feeling must be analyzed carefully, because this entity hides in the most subtle layers of your mind. The more you allow yourself to act on autopilot, the more opportunities it has to reinforce its presence. influencing your choices and behavior without you realizing it. The first sign that your awareness is being restored is the perception of small dissonances within you. There are moments when your actions don't seem aligned with your values, when your words sound hollow, or when your reactions are charged with an emotion that doesn't make sense. These are signs that the infiltration has already taken place. The issue is not to fight against this force, but to understand how it operates. As long as you continue reacting without questioning, you will be allowing it to keep shaping your perception without resistance. The greater danger lies not only in the change of your internal identity, but in the way this transformation affects your relationships and how others perceive you. The disconnection does not only happen within you, but is reflected in the interactions you have with the world. You notice that certain people start to distance themselves, that your energy no longer has the same impact as before, and that there is an invisible coldness growing around you. This happens because the change is not just an internal conflict, but an alteration in the vibration you emit, making you less authentic without realizing it. This distancing does not mean that people are merely changing, but that your presence no longer carries the same strength it once did. The more this influence strengthens, the more your essence dilutes, and those who once recognized your light begin to feel that something has been lost. This is not a sudden process, but a gradual transition, where, day by day, your true identity becomes weaker. If you do not interrupt this erosion now, there may come a time when it will no longer be possible to restore what was dissolved by the presence of this entity. The true chosen one is not the one who avoids their shadows, but the one who recognizes them and transforms them into strength. Every fragment of what you tried to hide contains a lesson that must be learned before you can regain power over yourself. Denying what exists within you only prolongs the rule of this entity because it cannot be fought with resistance, but with understanding. You do not need to destroy your darkness. You need to illuminate it with awareness. Only then does this influence lose its power, for there is no longer any space for it to hide within you. The process of reclaiming your true identity requires a deep internal reconstruction, because this presence has rooted itself in layers of your consciousness you didn't even realize. Every time you gave in to fear, doubt, or uncertainty, you gave it a space to strengthen. But the issue is not to blame yourself for the past, but to understand that the power to interrupt this influence has always been in your hands. The real danger was never the existence of this entity, but your lack of awareness of how it had been silently operating within you. The key to preventing the domination of this force lies in the reconstruction of your own essence, for what this presence seeks to replace cannot be erased. It can only be forgotten. The rescue of your authenticity begins when you stop avoiding yourself and confront everything you once tried to bury. This is not a comfortable process, but it is necessary. As long as you insist on running away, it will continue to find ways to act without you realizing. The only way to prevent this replacement is by reaffirming who you truly are. Your mind becomes the battlefield where this struggle takes place. If you continue to yield to emotional fatigue, mental exhaustion, and internal confusion, you will be handing this entity exactly what it needs to take control. Its objective has never been to confront you directly, but to make you surrender on your own. The more disconnected you feel from your mission, the stronger this presence becomes. It feeds on your inertia, for every day that passes without you reacting is another step it takes toward complete domination. The awakening to this reality cannot be delayed, for every moment of hesitation is one in which this entity solidifies its place inside of you. Resistance is not only in thought, but in action. You must remember who you are. You need to reclaim your energy and reconnect with what makes you the chosen one. The real danger is not losing a battle against this presence, but forgetting that this battle is even happening. If you keep ignoring the signs, the day may come when there will be nothing left to recover. Full awareness of who you are is the only barrier this entity cannot cross. It can use your weaknesses, insecurities, and fears against you, but it will never be able to manipulate someone who deeply knows themselves. Therefore, the greatest mistake you can make is believing you can face this process without looking inward. There is no victory without understanding, for what gives this presence strength is exactly what you have not resolved within yourself. What is not recognized becomes a weapon against you. There are no shortcuts in this process. If you believe you can simply push this entity away without a true internal confrontation, you are only postponing the inevitable. The only path to liberation is acceptance. You must face yourself completely, without fear of what you will find. Every part of you that was once ignored needs to be acknowledged and integrated, because it is in denial that this presence finds its power. Weakness does not lie in having a shadow, but in pretending it does not exist. As long as there is resistance, there will be gaps for it to continue existing. Recovering your identity is not just an act of resistance, but a daily commitment to your own truth. Each moment you reaffirm your awareness, this entity loses strength, because its power lies in illusion. The more you reconnect with yourself, the clearer it becomes how much this presence depends on your disconnection to exist. When there are no doubts, there is no external control. The shadow cannot govern someone who knows themselves fully. It is only through this understanding that you can take back what has always been yours. With every choice you make, every thought you allow to dominate your mind, you determine which version of yourself will be strengthened. This shadowy reflection cannot exist without your permission, because it feeds on your distraction and denial. The more you avoid looking inward, the more space it has to consolidate itself within you. The real danger does not lie in the existence of this entity, but in your inability to recognize how it operates. As long as you continue to ignore its presence, it will continue acting silently, occupying territories that once belonged solely to you. The solution does not lie in trying to destroy it, because the fight against this shadow only makes it stronger. The only possible path is integration, for only by bringing your darkness into the light can you dissolve its control. The chosen one who understands this no longer fears their own contradictions, for they know that every weakness recognized becomes a strength. You cannot be controlled by what you fully comprehend, because that which is under your consciousness can no longer be used against you. When you illuminate your own darkness, it loses the power to manipulate your identity. The shadowy reflection wants you to keep running away because its power lies in your resistance to accept who you truly are. The more you reject parts of yourself, the stronger this entity becomes. It thrives on the illusion that there is a separation between light and shadow when, in reality, both are part of the same essence. The true chosen one is the one who does not fear their own darkness, for they understand that within it lies unexplored potential. The only way to defeat this distorted reflection is not through struggle or confrontation, but through the courage to see yourself as a whole. Those who ignore this truth continue living as prisoners of an endless internal battle, oscillating between moments of clarity and periods of confusion. As long as there is resistance, there will be war. But when you accept that every part of you, even those that seem dark, has a purpose, the war ends. The shadowy reflection loses its strength because it realizes there is no place left to hide. It cannot exist where there is wholeness because its very nature depends on fragmentation. When you become complete, there is no longer any space for it to continue trying to take your place. This process requires courage, as it means abandoning the need to hold on to comforting illusions about yourself. You will need to face truths you've avoided, accept flaws you've tried to hide, and understand that all of this is part of the journey. But when this internal work is done, something powerful happens. You reclaim your integrity. Every fragment, once separated from you, reintegrates into your essence, and what once seemed like a threat becomes nothing more than a reflection without influence. The true chosen one does not fear what exists within them, for they know everything has a purpose. Those who fail in this process become victims of their own denial, believing they can continue moving forward without looking at what was left behind. The truth is, what is unresolved always returns, finding new ways to manifest until it is finally confronted. You can choose to postpone this moment, but you cannot avoid it forever. The longer you take to face your shadow, the stronger it becomes. The choice has always been in your hands. Allow it to keep growing or reclaim what has always been yours. Now, the true test begins. You already know this entity exists, recognize how it operates, and understand that its strength lies in what you refuse to face. What remains now is deciding how you will act. The shadow cannot be banished, but it can be integrated. You cannot destroy it, but you can transform it. Your freedom will not be won through resistance, but through understanding. The chosen one who understands this becomes unshakable, for when there is no fear within them, there is nothing that can be used against them. True sovereignty begins with the total acceptance of who you really are. From this moment on, everything you do will determine which version of yourself will be strengthened. If you continue hesitating, allowing doubts to dominate you, you will grant space for this entity to root itself even deeper. But if you choose to face this presence head-on, bringing to light everything you once tried to hide, you will begin to recover sovereignty over yourself. This process does not happen suddenly. It requires a firm and conscious stance. Every choice you make from now on will define the fate of your own identity. There is no alternative path to recovery. The truth is simple. Either you take full responsibility for your existence, or you will remain vulnerable to influences that thrive in your lack of awareness. The chosen one who awakens to this truth understands that their greatest weapon is not in fighting something external, but in the ability to know themselves at a level that nothing can be used against them. Sovereignty over your identity cannot be taken by force, but it can be lost to those who do not protect it. Each step toward your authenticity weakens this presence. The more you reaffirm your essence and align with your true purpose, the more this entity loses its power to interfere. It will never disappear entirely, for it will always exist within you, but its power dissolves when you no longer give it space to operate. The shadow will always be there, but when you illuminate it, it ceases to be a threat. The key to your freedom has always been within you, waiting to be claimed. Are you ready to claim what has always been yours? The time for hesitation is over. For now, you understand what's at stake. If you want to continue this journey of empowerment, share this knowledge with those who need to awaken. Leave your like below, and if you haven't yet subscribed, do so now. Don't forget to activate the notification bell so you won't miss any new content. You could be the key to someone else's awakening, helping them recover their true identity before it's too late. In the comments, tell me how this message impacted you. Your story might be what someone needs to realize they are not alone on this journey. For those who wish to support this channel and ensure these messages continue reaching those who need them, support through Buy Me a Coffee is available via the link in the pinned comment. Your contribution allows us to deepen this work and share knowledge with those who truly need it. Now, take advantage of the opportunity and watch the next recommended video on the screen. In it, I reveal even deeper secrets about the true spiritual battle of the chosen ones, and how you can strengthen yourself against forces that try to divert you from your mission. Remember, true victory doesn't lie in brute strength, but in the absolute understanding of who you truly are. See you soon, and may God bless you.